Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Poppin' It's D. About to react to this vid by Black Culture Unlocked. It's titled, They Clone Tyrone, Trying to Warn You. I heard there's like a hidden message in this, or maybe not even hidden, but I heard there's like a message in it that pertains to black people in society or something like that. I tried to watch this movie, but I fell asleep. It wasn't gripping me quickly enough, and I will fall asleep in a fucking heartbeat, okay? So, I need shit to get to the point. So, yeah, I probably watched maybe 30 minutes of it, and yeah, I fell asleep, and I was like, do I want to go back and watch it? It wasn't that interesting to me personally, but maybe this video will intrigue me, and I'll go back and finish it. I don't know. Let's watch. Oh.
They Clone Tyrone is a movie every black person needs to see.
Oh,
why? Because this movie is about you and what they are doing to us as a community. We are the clones. They put these movies in our faces for a reason. It's time we wake up and see the signs. Let's break down this movie together and find some of the hidden truths they revealed to us. The story revolves around three characters. We got Slick, Fontaine, and Yo-Yo, who just happens to uncover a nefarious government scheme. The movie starts off with a regular day in the life of Fontaine. He's a typical drug dealer in the hood. He spots a rival gang member selling work on his block and runs him over. This decision will come back to haunt him later on. After he goes to the local food mart to play the lottery, he loses, of course. The lottery is one of the biggest scams, yet people still buy it religiously. Right after, a homeless man says,
y'all could take that money daily and put it into like a stock or something. You better off spending your money doing that. That's just dumb. I know people who, well, in my life I've known, mainly family members, who have like religiously bought tickets like every week. And I'm like, you know what that could have done over time or whatever.
What a young blood.
This was no ordinary homeless man. He knew something, the truth. We'll see him give hints of what's really going on throughout the film. Later that night, Fontaine is plotting his revenge on the other rival gang leader, Isaac, when he discovers he's short on money. Money that Slick owes him. Slick is a pimp and has plenty of women working for him. Yo-Yo is the number one. Fontaine finds his way to Slick and forces him to pay his dues. One thing I took from the film early on is that it suggests that in the hood, everything stays the same, and this is happening across different periods. So, the exact year, date, or place where the film takes place doesn't matter because it would all stay the same. Look at it this way. Although the film has this 90s or 70s vibe, it also happens in modern times. Characters are using smartphones and talking about blockchain and Barack Obama. But we also see characters using flip phones, wearing baggy clothes, and outdated decor. And all of that is there by design. It is meant to create a cognitive dissonance by confusing us about the exact time. The director improves the sci-fi storyline. That's because the government cloning conspiracy feels quite complex and manipulative, and this is something that could be pulled from various decades. After he gets the money he came for, he's cornered by Isaac and his mans, who shoots him on the spot.
It's so dark. That's the other reason why I fell asleep. It was so dark. I fall asleep easier when I'm watching things that are dark, obviously, because if it's brighter, it's gonna keep me up.
Fontaine dies, but somehow wakes up the next day. He has no wounds, no stitches, nothing. It's another typical day in his life. That's when Fontaine stumbles upon a black SUV. He sees a resident getting kidnapped in broad daylight. He then talks to Slick and Yo-Yo about it, and Slick's version of events leaves Fontaine speechless. At this point, Fontaine is going crazy. He honestly can't believe he died the following night. He has to get answers. Together, they track down the SUV and find a deserted house. Here, we see an elevator, and with everything that's been going on, they can't help but check it out. All three of them hopped in and took a ride down. Now, this is where things get really interesting. They arrive in a mysterious laboratory with Don't Stop Till You Get Enough by Michael Jackson playing in the background. As the doors open, they spot this white man with an afro. They immediately snatch him up and hold him hostage. While down there, they find a white powder that looks a lot like cocaine, but it isn't. Just powder that has them laughing uncontrollably. But before you know it, things go south, and they accidentally shoot their hostage. As they are leaving, Fontaine discovers something interesting. His dead body from the night before. I'm not gonna lie, the staff worker caught me off guard. But we later find out that this was all one big experiment to turn black people white, and the staff were the failed experiments because our hair was too stubborn. Hence, that's why he has white skin, but with black people's hair. But it makes me wonder, what really happened to Michael Jackson? And is this movie telling us something? Just think about it for a second. The very opening scene of the movie showed 3 black men arguing, one claiming to have seen Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson, huh? Yeah, guess who I see at the dollar store? Who? Tupac?
I'm dead ass serious, bro. Listen, man, the man working the day shift, wiggly wiggly, over on MLK, my own God.
Then, when the trio first discovers the laboratory, Michael Jackson's music is playing in the background. I think there's something there, but we'll save that for another video. After they escape, the trio goes to a local fast food joint and orders some chicken. They quickly discover that the chicken is not just delicious, it is also making people start laughing uncontrollably. That means that the chicken is drenched in that white powder they found in the lab. On top of that, it's being served by another white man with an afro, another failed experiment. It shows that everything is connected, and they are all working for them. This reminds me of that Popeye's fried chicken sandwich craze from a few years back.
Fist fights, car crashes, even a murder. Yeah, this is gonna sound pretty ridiculous, but all of that is over a chicken sandwich.
Some people are losing their minds over the newest offering from Popeyes.
It had everyone going crazy wanting to try it. The thing is, it wasn't even that good.
It
So why were
wasn't?
people so hooked? They are clearly showing us that they are putting things in our food, but it goes much deeper.
I
than
mean, it
just
was
our
good, but
food.
it
The
ain't
water,
that goddamn
the
good.
food, the drugs, juice, beauty products, and the music are all designed to keep us in a trance. The film focuses on the black community and how the stuff made in the lab keeps people in their simulation.
This is the construct. It's our loading program.
It appears that this government scheme is massive, worse than they could have possibly imagined. And it turns out there's an entirely different world under the Glen. One that's highly organized and extensive. The trio sees countless experiments that involve food, music, and lighting. All sorts of products people use in their daily lives. It is obvious, these are all hand-picked people from the Glen. The one that stuck with me was the scene with the music. At first, 2 men were fighting while some violent hip-hop music was playing in the background. Then they changed the music to some loving R&B music, and the 2 men started hugging. Don't let this go over our heads. This clearly shows that the music we listen to is destroying us, causing us to be more violent and kill each other. For us to change, one of the first steps is changing what we listen to on a daily basis. Once the trio figures out the complete scope of the experiment, or at least it appears that way, they return to their everyday lives. But they are now convinced that their places in society are predetermined and controlled by some mysterious figures. They've been programmed to do things a certain way. This revelation weighs heavily on Fontaine. He thinks his role as a drug dealer is intended to ruin his hometown and flood it with violence and drugs. This creates the perfect scenario for the men in black to conduct their experiments of mind control without anyone getting in the way. Later, Fontaine sees Slick, who seems to have withdrawn emotionally. In the meantime, Yo-Yo has been battling the underground group. She is bent on exposing the whole thing in the papers, since she wants to be a journalist. Collecting and showing such evidence to the public could jumpstart her career. She collects the evidence,
kill
but
you.
before she can post it, she's kidnapped by the black SUV. Slick gets his charm back, and together with Fontaine, they look for Biddy. She is the local gossiper who knows anything and everything about anyone. She tells them that Yo-Yo was indeed kidnapped. This forces the two to team up with an unlikely ally, Isaac. But Isaac kills Fontaine again and gets cloned. The clone Fontaine wakes up and continues his life as he normally would, while the real Fontaine wakes up in a strange facility. It turns out that Isaac was on board with Fontaine and Slick's idea and didn't really kill Fontaine. He just created the perfect opportunity for Fontaine to enter the control room. Once down there, we see scientists using perming cream on Yo-Yo's hair. It appears to be some kind of experiment. But when these people think that Yo-Yo has fallen unconscious, she gets up and takes off her wig and knocks them out. Meanwhile, Slick is ready for some action. He gathers the whole hood and decides to turn the tables and raid the underground lab.
Excuse me, kind sir, but if you could point me to the elevator that leads down to the freaky laboratory.
That's when they come across a remarkable revelation. Countless clones of people they know, including themselves. Fontaine comes face to face with the mastermind behind the operation. Turns out to be an older version of Fontaine himself.
Let's just call it marriage of convenience. I'm the lead geneticist of this operation.
Now, here, we didn't get an exact reason as to why the villain did what he did. That's because the movie barely delves into the older Fontaine's backstory. So, it leaves little exploration of what led him down this path and why he conducted these experiments on his own community, even on clones of himself. We do know that he claims his motivations stemmed from the pain he endured when his younger brother was tragically killed. It turns out that the police indeed killed Fontaine's brother, but the actual incident was much more horrific than the memory he gave to his latest clone. This is, basically, his brief origin story. Because of this tragedy, he became a mad scientist. The actions of the older Fontaine span several generations. He has secretly attempted to dilute black ancestry, methodically isolating specific genes to create a predominantly white population. This unsettling revelation, exemplified by the lab tech and a few other white characters with black hair, echoes the disturbing historical reality of genocides that aim to eliminate the black community. For example, the North Carolina Eugenics Board once pursued a similar goal. They sought to eliminate African Americans through sterilization and selective breeding. For over 4 decades, the eugenics program sterilized almost 7,600 people by force, most of whom were black. According to academic papers, this wasn't just a coincidence. It was designed to breed black residents out.
North Carolina moves toward compensating victims of a sterilization program that lasted more than 4 decades.
The film inadvertently touches on the dark and complex issue of racial self-hatred. It presents a black man as the apparent mastermind behind such a scheme. And instead of blaming the police for the murder of his brother, he blames the skin for being black. But it doesn't delve deeper than that. It just leaves it to our imagination. Then we see that the young Fontaine has another trick up his sleeve. He uses the Olympia Black phrase, which triggers the guard clone to do whatever they say. He uses this opportunity to kill the old Fontaine and get away alive. This, to me, feels like the biggest plot hole. Can anyone who says the phrase control the clones? Why didn't it control young Fontaine as well? Is it that efficient in controlling an entire clone army? The point is, the trio saves the day and frees the clones. The news gets flooded with reports of naked people running across the street.
And what's amazing is just how quickly residents of the Glen have rallied for help. We've got folks out here giving out water, food, clothes off their own backs.
While it appears to be the end, it is not. In the last scene, we see a person who appears to be Fontaine going through his daily routine, much like what he did when the movie started.
This is different though.
When the random black guy is later watching TV with some of his friends, and the naked clone story pops up, we see another clone that looks exactly like him. His friend looks at him and asks, "Ain't that you, Tyrone?" If this is not a cliffhanger, I don't know what is. This is where the movie finally ends. To me, the clones are a metaphor. They depict how white America tends to view black people and their culture. They accept them only if they conform to a whitewashed version of themselves, to be more appealing and acceptable to the dominant white society, so that they can get access to power, comfort, and money. Also, the clones symbolize how white people keep the power in balance by deliberately subjecting specific black communities to poverty and oppression. This movie had a brilliant ending. I like how it challenges us to think outside the box and what it could all mean. Among the clones, Fontaine represents the group designed to maintain the neighborhood in a bad state. He is there to make sure the authorities turn a blind eye to what's going on behind the scenes. On the other hand, there are other clones, like the light-skinned black individuals in that exact same neighborhood, who embody the idea of assimilation. The thing is, I've seen a lot of movies that make black people appear hopeless or have little impact on the main story. Then, we also see this one black hero that defeats everyone. But we rarely see the people come together, where we all are heroes and we all are doing our part. I think that this is an important message to take away from the movie as well. We are not supposed to feel weak or helpless. We are supposed to be out there coming together and fighting for what we believe in. The film takes place in a fictional neighborhood, but the problems people are facing there are far too real. This film led us with a lot to think about and ways to be interpreted. With that being said, let us know your interpretation. And if there's anything we missed in the comments.
What the fuck? I had no idea that it got this deep. I didn't know it was about all of this. I know people were saying like, oh, it's a message that black people should watch it, but you know, they didn't really go into detail. But he went into a lot of detail here, and now I want to watch it. I watched probably the first 30 minutes. Honestly, it could have been less than that. You know, when you fall asleep, you don't really know. Can't really keep track of time. I don't know. Maybe it was the first 20 minutes. Who knows? But yeah, them going down to the lab, I don't see any of that. So I definitely want to watch it now. I mean, now it's spoiled because I know what happens, but I don't really care about that. I actually prefer to know what something is about. When it's a little complex like this, I prefer to get, you know, a summary so that it'll help me put all of the pieces together as I'm watching it. Because some shit I'm watching, I'll be confused. And if I'm getting confused, I start losing interest. I start thinking about other shit. Like, I got a mild case of ADHD, I feel like. So, yeah, I feel like I definitely want to watch it now. This was wild. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Let me know what other videos you want me to watch, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye!